Hi everyone, this is another timeless reading that's for somebody out there. My intention is that this one finds the person or people it is meant for and at the right time. It's definitely not for everyone, so if the storyline that emerges is not resonating with you, it's probably not for you. You can still watch the whole reading because it's always an intention of mine that anyone who is drawn to one of my readings will gain something from it. Whether it's an insight or a bit of wisdom or even just the opportunity to see something from a different perspective. So if you happen to be here, I think you're meant to be here. As per our new tradition here, the first slide is where we do a little love pause. This is where we send love out into the universe. This might be about sending healing, comforting energy to someone who you know is in need of it, or it might just be sending that energy out with the intention of it reaching someone who needs it. Alternatively, you can do a little Ho'oponopono prayer here by saying, thank you, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me. And if it can even be a pause for self-love if you know that you need to work on that. And there's no shame in that at all. In fact, to learn to love yourself unconditionally is one of the most powerful things you can do if you're on the spiritual path. You might say something like, I will honor my soul by making choices that bring peace and happiness into my life, or any affirmation that you think is right for you. This love pause is about acknowledging that we are all connected through spirit, and we can use that connection to let loving, healing energy flow within us and between us. So if you're interested in doing this, you can pause the video for a few seconds and let the love flow. It's completely up to you how and where you send that love. And let's face it, it doesn't actually even really matter where you send it because we're all connected. Any love sent in any direction will have a ripple effect that's bigger than we realize. Thank you to everyone who does this. The time to pause is now, and the reading will start on the next slide. All right, so this is the spread for this reading. If you're interested in the decks I've used, I'll have them listed on a slide at the end of the video. At the bottom of the deck, we had the Six of Wands card, and immediately behind it, we had the High Priestess card. Although these are both very different cards, both are showing someone who's at a height, and their body language is showing that they know they're in a position of power and they have the confidence to match that awareness. As I said, though they are different cards, the Six of Wands is a minor arcana card, so it's not in itself a big energy. It is a card that is about victory, success, recognition, and so on. It's a good card in the sense that it's about someone who's winning. But I guess to my mind, knowing how things play out in the suit of Wands, this victory or success can just be about the here and now. And what I mean by that is that the wand suit kind of peaks in the middle and then things get harder as you continue along the journey. So if, on the other hand, we were talking about cards in the Pentacles suit that speak of success, then I would say, yeah, that's someone who's definitely in a good spot, because the Pentacles storyline is one where those success cards are much more about material stability. So they're about someone who's made it. You know, they're in a solid position. They're sitting pretty because they have that material stability. Their success has solid foundations. So I'm not saying that the Six of Wands isn't a good card, but I think it's a little more like someone who's at a good point in their career or their business. They might continue to enjoy a lot of success if their star keeps rising, but that's not a given. And as I said, the fact that the wand suit kind of peaks in the middle of the minor arcana, and I might even go so far as to say that this particular card, the Six of Wands, is probably the peak that I'm talking about. So the success energy of the Six of Wands is a little bit about what the person's offering and how valued it is by the general public. And I just got the song video Killed the Radio Star, and that's interesting because it's reminding me of some of those businesses that used to exist, like video rental stores and record and CD stores. I'm old enough to remember how popular they were at one time, and then within about a decade they were all gone. So the internet got speedier, and then we could stream movies and music, and we didn't need to go get a physical product anymore. I also remember how we used to take, rolls of film from our cameras into shops to get processed, and then we'd pick up the photographs later. And those places were also totally wiped out by digital photography. So yes, someone can be doing very well at a particular time, and then something changes and their period of success is over. So maybe just like the businesses I mentioned just now, this person's business could also become redundant because it's replaced by something more advanced. Or maybe there might just suddenly be a lot more competition in the industry that they're working in, and that leads to them losing customers or clients. And so I almost get this feeling that the Six of Wands person isn't perhaps appreciating that even though they're doing well right now, it might not last, and they might one day be someone that only a few people might still remember. And wow, I just got Pride Comes Before a Fall pop into my head as well. So I think perhaps they have become prideful or conceited. They've become too sure of themselves. And I'm looking at this card again and seeing that he's standing on a statue. It's some kind of creature, and he's standing on the part of the statue that is the curled back of this creature. At least I hope it's a statue and not a real creature. But anyway, with the storyline we have, I'm seeing how it's not a particularly secure place to be standing. I mean, a strong gust of wind would make him wobble, or something could happen that causes the statue to break. And so that's reminding me again that this Six of Wands energy really doesn't have the stability that we see with the success cards in the Pentacle suit. So this Six of Wands card is a really strange card to pair with the High Priestess, but maybe it's just here to highlight the contrast between the two energies, because the High Priestess is very different. It's a major arcana card. The High Priestess is not the kind of person that people will forget. She has a strong spiritual connection, and she's intuitive and psychic. The confidence she demonstrates isn't related to her success. It's to do with who she is and not what she does. She's different to other people. So in terms of astrological associations, the High Priestess is related to the moon, and the moon is the ruler of Cancer and the fourth house in astrology. And when you look at the image on this card, she's not standing on anything at all. She's floating in the air. So she can't be knocked off her perch because she doesn't even need to be supported by anything in the material world. She's the High Priestess, and she's going to be the High Priestess wherever she goes. I mean, you could pluck her out of her normal life and dump her in the middle of the Amazon rainforest or in the middle of a conflict zone somewhere, and she'd still be the High Priestess. She knows her connection to spirit is strong enough to guide her through anything, and that's why her confidence is unshakable. Now, the first oracle card here is strongly supporting what I'm talking about with the High Priestess. It's titled Extraordinary, and it reads, "There is a wild and impetuous uniqueness to you that deserves to be honoured." The image on it is a peacock with its glorious feathers on display. You can't look at a peacock and fail to appreciate that it's something to behold. And I guess that's what we're talking about with those bottom of the deck energies. The High Priestess has a presence that leaves people in no doubt that she's someone unique. And I'm actually imagining those scenarios where she gets dropped off in the middle of a rainforest or a conflict zone. I think her presence is such that it would be felt by people who spoke a different language or were of a different culture. I don't think they would actually even feel like they could treat her badly or disrespect her. And it might be the fact that she can observe and perceive things so deeply. She has the ability to interact with people easily because she sees them so clearly. The Smoke and Mirrors card is also here, and yeah, that I guess is about how she sees through the smoke and mirrors to the person, to their soul. She understands their energy. So what she actually interacts with is not a person's ego, it's their soul, and that's amazing. And I'm going to be honest here because I had to pause this channeling at this point because this is where I got all in my head about the rest of the storyline. I was thinking all kinds of things like, do the tarot cards relate to the Six of Wands character, or are we finished with him? But wait, he's the card at the bottom of the deck, so he has to be important. But then the two oracle cards are talking about the High Priestess, and so maybe he's only here to show us the contrast between the two cards. But then why did I get that thing where he had his own storyline forming where he falls off his perch? So I was getting all kind of in my head about it all, and I decided to stop because of the mental gymnastics that were happening. So I was doing this channeling in the evening, so I just stopped and I decided to take the rest of the night off and then come back to the reading after that mental break and a good night's sleep. And I had already started trying to channel the other tarot cards, but I decided because my mind was so heavily engaged, I decided that I would just delete what I'd written for those and come back to it and start again when I did come back to the reading. And I'm really glad I did that because I was able to channel the reading more clearly the next day. And when I first came back to the spread, I actually could see why my mind got so wound up. And it actually felt like the smoke and mirrors card in the middle of the spread was actually, it was like it was taunting me or something, like there was something hiding in this reading that I wasn't seeing, like there was some kind of deception or some energy that was trying to throw me off. But I couldn't see anything obvious from the cards that were here, so I just thought, I don't know what's going on. I'm just going to channel each card like I normally do, and if there's something hiding here, I'll find it if I'm meant to. So yes, this spread did feel like a bit of a challenge that was asking me to go deeper and find the truth. I felt like I could count on my guides to give me the right nudges and help me notice what I needed to notice. And with that trust, I decided to crack on. So what's coming next is what I channeled when I resumed the reading the next day. So the first tarot card is the Three of Wands, and this is about someone who has started on a new path and is seeing some positive results. This card in the past is in the past position of the spread, and it's interesting that the card in the present position is the Nine of Wands. The Nine of Wands card in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck is a wounded warrior who is managing to stand up as well as they can. And that's because they're expecting more trouble. So they're wounded, but they're still trying to defend themselves. They're so used to being under attack that they really don't expect anything else. So I've always seen this card as a traumatized energy. They're injured, but they won't rest. They can't rest because their survival strategy requires them to be vigilant, to be on the lookout for trouble so they can spot it early and have time to prepare their defense or their exit strategy. And I also see this card as someone who feels like it's them against the world. They don't feel like they have allies or support. They feel like they're the only one who they can count on. Now, the Nine of Wands card in this deck has a totally different energy. The warrior here looks strong and confident. He doesn't look injured. He looks like he's fit and ready for battle. And he's actually not alone, because even though he appears to be alone on this card, there are other warriors here on his side, but they all look like they're from the spiritual realm. They're not solid in their form. So he appears to have an invisible set of allies on his side. And other people might not see these characters or this army. I don't know how big this group is, but he knows that he has this support, and I think this is why he looks so confident. He knows that he isn't alone, and that anyone who tries to mess with him is going to discover that they've bitten off more than they can chew. It's like the enemy might see him as someone they can easily defeat because he appears to be all alone. But when they come in to attack him, they're going to run into this invisible force. So this group or army exists to protect him, and essentially they will fight anyone who tries to harm him. So if an enemy does decide to attack this warrior, they will find themselves in a lot of trouble. They wouldn't even really know what they were dealing with. I mean, how do you fight an army that you can't even see? You wouldn't know how strong they are or what they're capable of or anything. And now I'm getting the storyline a bit more clearly, because I think the story here is that the Six of Wands person is going to try to take this high priestess down, but he doesn't know how protected she is in the spiritual realm. So maybe in the physical realm, he sees her business as competition or something. And so that's what that pride comes before a fall thing was all about. This person thinks that the fact that they're in the Six of Wands energy makes them powerful, because the other person is only appearing to be in the Three of Wands energy. So they are thinking that they are powerful, but they have no idea what's about to happen. In fact, I think they're so arrogant and sure of themselves now that they can't even imagine the possibility that they're not going to win. And the word for this is hubris. So I forgot to say earlier that cards are energies, not genders. So the genders shown on these cards don't matter. In this reading, the High Priestess and the Warrior in the Nine of Wands card are the same person. They are a spiritual warrior. And I don't think the Six of Wands person is aware of this at all. They just see this person as competition. So then maybe the early success they observed when this person was in this Three of Wands stage made them feel threatened, and they decided they needed to take this person down before they became a serious threat. So like I said before, they thought they were Six of Wands and the other person was Three of Wands. Now, before I go further, I will just go back to the Three of Wands card because I didn't really look at it in much detail. The Three of Wands card here is carrying the energies of optimism and enthusiasm. It's someone who is working on something and feeling excited about the progress that they're making. And in this spread, that's the past energy. And I think that's what the Six of Wands person was seeing. And I think they perceived this energy as naive and childlike, and they really didn't look any further. So now I'm getting what smoke and mirrors is all about now, because I was wondering why smoke and mirrors would be a problem for the High Priestess, because seeing through that kind of stuff is her bread and butter sort of stuff, isn't it? But I'm getting now that the smoke and mirrors is actually about her. So she was the one who wasn't what she seemed. She was hiding who she was. So she was looking small and insignificant. She seemed like a naive, innocent child playing in a world full of cleverer adults. And that was the illusion. And this Six of Wands person totally fell for it. And I think they're going to find out that what they were seeing was just the tip of the iceberg. So what they didn't see is that this helpless child is actually a spiritual warrior who even has an invisible force that's protecting them. So this Six of Wands person underestimating the iceberg is really what's going to sink their ship. And I'm not getting that this illusion around the High Priestess is sinister, or that there was any ill intent behind it. It maybe wasn't even all that intentional. It might have just been a subconscious response, because I'm thinking back to the Rider-Waite-Smith Nine of Wands and how that was about someone who has been attacked a lot, and their strategy was to be vigilant all the time. So even if the Nine of Wands here is different, I think that other energy is also part of this story. In fact, I'm going to put it in the past, and I feel like it might even go much earlier in the timeline than the Three of Wands card. This might go back years. So just imagine if you're someone who is attacked all the time and you know it will not stop, and you get to the point of being too badly wounded to be able to fight back or defend yourself. Your only option then is to hide. And I think that's what happened here. This spiritual warrior was attacked so much and they became so weak. They were too injured to fight back, and they decided they had no choice but to hide themselves. So they made themselves look small and insignificant. They made themselves someone that people wouldn't even notice. Because, hey, if you're too small to be a threat, you won't be attacked. And that's what that illusion was about. It was about self-preservation, and it actually did work for them for a really long time. They were able to stay safe. But then, because they started to do well at something, and that's what the Three of Wands card is about, they started to do well at something, and that meant they got noticed. So the Six of Wands person noticed them, they saw them, and they felt like they needed to take them down. So where this person, this High Priestess, spiritual warrior person, was safe in their facade, that came to an end. So that the attacks started, and they came from the Six of Wands person. And the wounded warrior realized that they actually couldn't hide behind the facade anymore, because it just wasn't keeping them safe anymore. So they came to the realization that it was time to defend themselves again. And that's when they got a bit of a shock, I think, because they realized that a lot had changed since when they first went into hiding. So in that long period that they were hiding, all of their injuries had healed, and they were actually back to full strength, and they hadn't realized that. And even more than that, they hadn't realized that they had, they had gathered some allies, that these invisible allies, this force that is now on their side, and they can see it now, but they didn't see it before. So I'm thinking that this has all been a bit of a shock to this person. And when you look back to the High Priestess card, she actually, because she was up in the air, she looked like she was celebrating something, like she was feeling really joyful. But when I was looking at the card earlier, it wasn't making sense, because the High Priestess is never really like that. She's usually very kind of tranquil. So it's making sense now. So she's really happy because she's looking at herself and seeing that she's fully healed and she's strong again. She doesn't need to hide anymore, because she can fight again, and she doesn't even have to fight alone anymore either, because there's this invisible force, these allies and protectors who will do whatever it takes to protect her. So she's looking overjoyed in that card, and it's because she is. Now, the last oracle card here is this massive moon card, and it's the supermoon card. And the message on it is that emotions are running high. So supermoons are when the moon gets as close to the earth as it can in its orbit. And so this is supposed to be a timeless reading, but I did start thinking that supermoons only happen a couple of times a year, right? So I went and Googled the supermoons of 2024, and it turns out I was actually a bit wrong, because I've only heard of supermoons in relation to full moons, and that's why I was thinking it was only a couple of times a year. Well, that's a bit of a false notion. 2024 actually has 5 supermoons, and 3 have already happened, and they were all new moon supermoons. So I didn't actually even think about new moon supermoons, but so they exist, and there are 3 of them, and 3 have happened this year. So the 2 supermoons that are left. I'll go back. Of the 3 new moon supermoons, I was struck by the date of one of them because it was that April 8th date. And for those who don't remember what that was about, it was the date of that incredible total solar eclipse that North America experienced. So yeah, that was a supermoon as well as a total solar eclipse. So that would have been a pretty big event. And so when I look now at the 2 supermoons that haven't yet happened in 2024, they are actually the next 2 full moons, which are happening on September 18th and October 17th. And that's really amazing because the next full moon is the September 18th one, and it's a lunar eclipse. And I'm not someone who focuses a lot on timing, but it's hard to ignore when these things show up. So that lunar eclipse that's coming up September 18th is in the sign of Pisces, which is a water sign, and water is the element of emotion. And with it being a lunar eclipse, the emotions are running high. Message could definitely go with that supermoon. So that's pretty significant. But I'm also thinking about the supermoon after that because it's actually going to be the full moon in Aries. And Aries, as we know, is a very fiery sign. And I'm thinking about the card from this actual moonology deck that relates to the full moon in Aries. And for people who know the moonology deck, they will know the message because it's very memorable. So the message for the full moon in Aries is a fiery climax approaches. It's one of those really memorable messages, isn't it? But anyway, the emotions are going to be running high. Message is big because I can see it relating to either or both of the 2 full supermoons coming up over the next 2 months. There's eclipse energy with the first one, Pisces, and then fiery climax Aries energy with the next one. So you couldn't really make it up, could you? And I'm feeling, I wonder, with these 2 characters, the 6 of Wands person and the High Priestess person, there could be some kind of showdown. But when you look at the tarot cards, the last tarot card here is the Ace of Cups, and that is a card of love and joy. And that's a beautiful outcome card. So maybe the emotions that are running high will be positive ones. So in excess of love and joy, which would be what you would expect with the Ace of Cups, and that's often shown as a cup that's spilling over. And this Ace of Cups card has goldfish on it and water, and goldfish are a symbol of good fortune. But I'm also thinking with the fish and the water, that's all making me think of the Pisces full moon, which is the very next one coming up. So it might all tie in with the September 18th Pisces lunar eclipse. And that's where we may see some really positive things happening, a lot of joy. But I can't let go of the supermoon after that being the Aries one. I feel like it could also be very significant, and maybe it's going to be more significant for the other person, the 6 of Wands person. I feel like the fiery climax might be talking about their outcome, and it might relate to whatever it was they tried to do to this spiritual warrior person. I'm feeling like they might have done something that crossed the line, and that invisible force or army might have stepped in to deal with whatever this person tried to do. And that would have happened in the spiritual realm, but maybe now the consequences will show up in the physical realm. And I did say earlier that this person had no idea what they were doing when they took this person on, because they don't know what this invisible army can do. So that might be revealed to them at that next super full moon in October. And I do feel like the Six of Wands person will not be standing on that statue for long, because we got that message of pride coming before a fall. Unfortunately for them, I think they're going to be falling. And wow, that's the end of the reading. So interesting, wasn't it? And it's definitely interesting that the next two full supermoons have shown up as possibly relevant to this reading. This has been such an intense year, so I can't say that I'm all that surprised. Okay, well, I hope you guys enjoyed that reading. It was very interesting from my perspective, trying to channel that one. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. And here on this slide are the decks that were used in this spread. The Tarot deck is the really beautiful Shadowscapes Tarot, and the Oracle decks are the Divine Abundance Oracle cards, the Oracle of the Seven Energies, and the Moonology Oracle cards. And the crystal here is a selenite heart. Finally, I'd just like to thank you for taking the time to watch the video. If you enjoyed watching it, please give the video a like or make a comment, or you can share the video if you think that other people might enjoy it. You can also subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more of my work in the future, and if you hit the notifications button, you can be notified of future uploads. You can also watch some of the other videos on the channel if you're interested. I do new moon and full moon readings, but almost all the other videos are intended to be timeless readings. If you're interested in checking out my blog page on Facebook, that little thumbnail image on the right shows you what that page looks like. Obviously, your support over there would be very welcome too. Thank you to everyone who is already subscribed to the channel also. It means a lot to me that you've chosen to support my channel and that you're enjoying the content. And that's it, everyone. I hope I'll see you again at another reading. Take care. Bye.